Greetings and salutations. I am with Mr. Zach Bornheimer. Is that how you pronounce it, Zach?
Yes, it is.
Yes. With Best Plan Pro, we're here to talk about a final expense quoting and underwriting tool that you need to take a look at. So we're going to jump right in. Zach's going to tell us a little bit about the company and then give you an under the hood look at how the entire program works. So Zach, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little more about Best Plan Pro?
My name's Zach Bornheimer. It's a complicated question. My background is I have a master's in jazz composition.
Is that right?
And,
really? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Last album I worked on won a Grammy and was a finalist for the Pulitzer.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You and me need to talk. My son is he's a piano player. He's in book 5. He's 13. He's played for 2.5 years in Suzuki. So okay.
Yeah. Very cool. And so one of my professors at school has like 1,000 kids and he's doing his best. So he was also in insurance and he was describing the underwriting process to me. And it was like the first half of an infomercial where everybody's walking around with like 16 pots of pasta and some like a strainer ends up on the head and it's like, there's gotta be a better way. And so my background being in artificial intelligence, specifically in linguistics and natural language processing, I figured out something. And so we created Best Plan Pro from that. I've been working on that ever since, especially with COVID. That's been great. And so I've transitioned in a lot of ways, taking a lot of the stuff we've learned with Best Plan Pro and applying it on the carrier side of things. So I've worked with a lot of carriers. In fact, like probably the last 8 products to hit the market, final expense and term, I've been involved with in some capacity. And Best Plan Pro has touched in some capacity. And so we've created this tool that serves as a sales process agnostic, underwriting, fact-finding, pre-qualification tool. And so Best Plan Pro was formed years ago, and we've been spending some time now on overhauling it because our original paradigm and the original thing we had to deal with was, how can this exist? People have been rumoring about something like this for years, and we know it can't exist. So it's time to put your money where your mouth is, prove it to us. Everybody was beat Best Plan Pro. That was kind of what was going on. And I don't think really anybody ever really won too many times. There's a couple times, but we figured out what was going on. We deeply integrated with a lot of carriers, and we worked to kind of strengthen the fundamental thesis that an agent should be able to pre-qualify their client and get a list of what are the likely results, right? Where should you start? We're not trying to answer the question. We're not trying to replace an agent. We're trying to say, where should you look? What's the first thing you should look at? And that way, when your client says, oh yeah, I forgot I had brain surgery last month, which is maybe one of the surgeries you would forget, then you actually update the health and underwriting profile, and now you get an updated list. Now you know where to go.
Right.
So we're here to serve the agent and not get in the way.
Yeah, and serve you guys do indeed. This is a business model where many of the agents are independent. There's a multitude of carriers, and probably the biggest sticking point for a lot of newer agents is, how do I pick the best plan for my client? And your program does that.
Yeah, and we've actually come up with some new tools to help them pick what carriers they even want to consider.
Cool. Well, can you jump into it and kind of give us a look? I think the best way to explain this is just by showing it, and I think it'll be obvious to everybody watching it how helpful it is.
Absolutely. 2.0. Here it is.
All right.
If you've seen Best Plan Pro before, which I know, David, you have,
yep.
Looks a little different, right?
It does, yes.
We overhauled this from a perspective of people hate change. So if you're using Best Plan Pro, why would you want some random person saying you got to change the way you use Best Plan Pro? So what we've done is we made this an additional way of using Best Plan Pro, not the only way of using Best Plan Pro. So I'm going to go up to a menu option here. You can see we have other themes. We have the modern theme and the classic theme. So if you're familiar with the classic one, which was like what the Windows version is, which still exists, by the way, we still have a completely fully offline Windows edition that gets updated every week. Same engine for all of these different versions of the system.
Right.
You can use it. We're not stopping you. Use it. Whatever you're comfortable with. We will never take away something. I do not like that myself. I hate when software changes on me, especially I've gotten this call before, 20 minutes before a presentation of some type. Hey, did you guys change the software? I was like, no. It's just you're on the wrong theme.
Right.
You can get back to exactly the way you're used to using it without any headaches here. And so to me, that's really important. I'm sure it is to everybody listening, everybody who's ever used any software. We hate when that happens, right?
Now this is the new version is a web-based, because it looks like you're in Google,
Yes.
right? Or
Yeah,
some
I'm in
sort of
Chrome.
browser. So anybody can access it as long as they have an internet connection, some sort of browser with this new version, right?
Correct. Mobile, tablet, internet-based device, anything. You probably use it on a Kindle, but don't use it on a Kindle. But yeah, so what we've done is all the features that you would expect from other versions of Best Plan Pro, everything that did work, does work. Keyboard shortcuts, still the same keyboard shortcuts. All of your cases still cross-compatible. Everything still works the way you'd expect. All the versions are cross-compatible as well, so you can at any point just change themes. So what we've done here is we've tried to be as intuitive as possible. So you start with the basic client information, which is the date of birth, height, weight, sex. So let me just put in some information here. 01. Oh, we all hate date fields, right? I think that's a consensus across the internet. No, everything is just a little bit different. Just type it. Let me just type it. I'm going to type up here so you can see. I'm going to type 5595. All right, I'm going to type it here. 5595, and it's just going to work right.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Everyone hates dates. They're always weird. Just type it. Just type it. It'll just work. That's the thesis of Best Plan Pro. Type it and it'll work. It'll tell you the age of the client. You can also enter their age, and you could say they're 65.
Right. Okay.
That's great for like if you're pre-qualifying a lead, like you got a lead come in, you want to, before you talk to the client, figure out their age, because different carriers do attained age, some do nearest age. We figure that out for you. Part of our pending patent is this inference stuff that we do.
Right.
And that's part of it. So I'm going to go back to the date of birth. I'm going to do 01/15/1955. Great. Height, we'll just do 5'9". Again, just type it, it'll just work. 170. You can also, in this field, you can type M or F and it'll automatically select male or female. And this should be pretty similar to, if you've used Best Plan Pro before, this is pretty similar to what you've done before. We've just surfaced up a lot of the features. So you could choose how frequently someone used nicotine, but for carriers like Prosperity, where we know they have differences in nicotine,
Right.
American Amicable, all these different things, you can actually say what they do. And that includes marijuana. It handles all of that. If they have restrictions on a medical restriction on marijuana, you put in recreational marijuana versus medical marijuana, it just handles that for you. I'll leave it as never for now. This option appears when you have both final expense and term products selected. And I'll go into that in just a second. And you can see this is all under a different section, client coverage. This section is all you need to run a quote. You can get basic demographic-based information. So if you know that they're going to qualify, they have nothing wrong with them, you know they're going to qualify, you don't really need a quote. You just want to make sure that GI is going to be okay. It's all they can get, right?
Right.
Just do it here. You'll know. And you can actually restrict it. We can actually restrict it to GI right there.
Gotcha.
That all being said, let's go and look at the products menu, because this is one of our cool features here. Settings, set level products. We've combined the products menu from previous versions of Best Plan Pro. We had them separated out: final expense, term, med sup, pre-need. We've just combined them here. You can scroll through them and you can actually just check what you want. I've unchecked all the A's, as you notice here, and just check the B. And the idea is we have this new feature called Compare FEX Competitors. So you can actually see the carriers you don't have appointed in order to determine where they sit in the marketplace. So if you're writing a bunch of business, if you're running a bunch of quotes and you're seeing a couple carriers consistently for your clients coming up, maybe it's worth asking your IMO, your upline, if they have contracts,
Right.
But also it helps you with persistency, right? You can sell against a smaller carrier. If you have KSKJ versus the Mutual of Omaha, you sell on size.
Right.
And that gives you that information. Helps you make improve your sales pitch.
And the boxes you selected, just for the case of the sake of the audience, those are what will show up on the quote screen when you run the quotes in a minute. So you have the ability to customize this and custom tailor it to whatever products you have or don't have when you have to compare.
And you can also search for them. So if you're appointed with Foresters and you want to see all the final expense term options, you can just do that. You can also filter it by type and all of those kinds of things. I'm going to leave that on for now so I can show that feature. So you can run a quote with just that. But let's go a little bit further in. So because I have final expense and term, I can check if I want both of them or just that. Let's do both. Let's cross quote, because let's do more on the line quotes. So let's put in a state. I can use the 2-character abbreviation. I can use a search. If I type in the letter J, New Jersey comes up. It does all that for you. You don't really have to worry. Again, as you would expect, right? That's what we're trying to do, as you would expect. Face value or budget. If you want to, if your client, let's say, has $50 a month they can spend, you can put it in there, $50. Now you can use a keyboard shortcut or hit one of the, hit the little plus and add another budget option. And what this will do is it'll tell you down to the decimal point how much coverage your client can afford with all their health considered.
Gotcha. Cool.
So if they're going to get graded, they might be able to afford $8,752.66 of coverage from Mutual Omaha. And what you would do as an agent is you'd say, so we want to go 7,500, 9,000, 12,000.
Right.
And you might sell to try and position it the right way.
Right.
But it gives that info. So let's do here, let's keep it at face value, not budget. I typed in the wrong section anyway. You can also use the letter K. So let's do 7.5K. I'm gonna hit enter. I'm gonna do 15K. I'm gonna hit the slash. I'm gonna do 25K. I'm gonna hit the other slash. They all work. And 50K. Yeah, let's add 100K in here.
Just running term too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, why not? And we can run that by itself, or we can add some health in here.
I see.
So if you just want to quote, there you go, just run it. You don't need the health and underwriting turned on. If you do it, we now have some AI. Buzzword of the year, right? AI.
Right.
So let me talk you through this. We have over 200,000 med use combinations at this point. In our system, part of our pending patent is evolution. The system evolves. The more cases get run through the system, the more the system learns. We learn new medications usually within a week of when they come out. So whatever users type into our input boxes, we learn from. So let's look at Xarelto. Z-A-R-E-L-T-O, right? No, X, right? But you notice how it automatically changed it from a Z to an X and then automatically selected that it was a medication? Let's try again. COPD. Automatically changed it to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and selected a condition. But let's do something a little bit more esoteric. Felon. A lot of options here. Now you have a little search engine. Just click this show search results and you have a search engine. You can see all of our different options for felonies. So just select what's most appropriate. So let's go back to something a little bit simpler. Let's do Xarelto. You can hide that search result. What if you don't know what it's for? What if the client doesn't know?
Yeah.
C-related impairments. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Best Plan Pro tells you what everything is for.
Right.
Again, 200,000 plus. I think 2 weeks ago it was like 192,000, and now it's up to 208,000 or something like that. And you can see, likely due to some sort of circulatory disorder, right? So even if there's a medication you haven't seen before, let's see if there's this one. I think it just got added. Yeah, Mounjaro. Type 2 diabetes. That came out like a week and a half ago. It's a brand new medication. Tells you what it's for. And you can actually override the software at any point. So I can type in here just random letters if I want and click medication. We don't believe in restricting your actions. So let me do Mounjaro. Let's do Xarelto again. Xarelto. Let's put in arrhythmia. Let's say it's a ventricular arrhythmia. Again, Best Plan Pro does better when you select what the most accurate thing is, right? If we have multiple options for you, select the most accurate. That's how you get the most accurate underwriting assessment. Is it ongoing? Yes. If no, you get, the most recent fill comes up. So what we've done is we just hid that box. If it's yes, we're just going to say it's today. And you can also say English, right? 6 months ago. Done. That was the first fill. Or you could say, 01, 2000 is the first fill of this drug. Whatever you want. It all works the same way. It's what you would expect. So let's leave this as, let's leave that. Why not, right? Daily dosage. Let's leave it blank. I can add another med by just hit save and add.
Okay.
And as you can see down here, it added that stuff already. Let's do insulin. Let's do a diabetes. Here's the example I love to give, actually. Let's do something a little bit more complicated, COPD. So let's pretend you have a client in the house. Well, my doctor told me I had COPD 15 years ago and then gave me albuterol, some Symbicort, I think. I stopped that a month ago, though. And then some medication starting with the letter G and then Advair, I think. Okay, 17 years ago. Albuterol. Advair. Symbicort. Some medication starting with the letter G. Let's scroll down to our letter G. Say it's Glacia. Symbicort was stopped a month ago, not ongoing, 1 month ago. Done.
Cool.
We just added all of that all at once.
Yeah, nice.
And then you could, of course, go a little bit quickly here, and you could say, oh, forgot a med for COPD, just click the edit button. Can't edit the individual medicine, the medications in here because we want you to be specific.
Right.
So let's just say, I don't know, let's look at it, just pick one, right? Let's just pick one at random. Proventil, done. And it just added Proventil at the same dates, 17 years ago, ongoing treatment.
Right.
Just quick ways of dealing with all that. So your client can be all over the place, and you as an agent, instead of wrangling them with follow-up questions, you just use the software. The software will adapt to you. So if you sell organ systems first, right, you go heart, lungs, brain, you do that, it'll work. If you go through the most commonly found issues in final expense or term, that'll work. If you go based on the pill bottles in front of you, it'll work. You don't have to do anything. Like, great example, when we broke into the industry, one of the pieces of pushback we got originally was like, how can you know when the diabetes was diagnosed with the age of onset? Well, I'm going to do the math. That's how.
Right.
If you say it was first diagnosed 15 years ago and they're 68, well, it was going to be when they were 53. And so we know it's not before age 40. So it should all add up.
Right.
Right. This is part of our pending patent in our inference stuff. So let me show you what this looks like. We're going to click run quote. It's going to run a quote, and it's going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parallel quotes. And it's going to do underwriting assessments for all 5 different quotes at the same time. And it's doing final expense and term.
Right.
And the idea here is more quotes you run, slower the system goes, because it's doing 5 quotes. This isn't like, here's a great example. So if, a carrier restricts face amount based on health, if you have like diabetes, it only goes up to 35,000 instead of 50,000, which I think there is a carrier that does something like that. It might be in the term space. Best Plan Pro will automatically handle all of that for you. So we're now running, what are we doing? 2 conditions, 6 medications, 5 different potential face amounts for 2 different product types. Here's our final expense, and here's our term options. So you can see some are in grayscale, right?
Yeah.
These are competitors.
Ah, right.
So we can get day 1 coverage for this case.
Mm-hmm.
So we can open that up and we can see the standard pricing, which is what we expect. But let's say that's not accurate. Let's say they forgot that they had brain surgery last month. You click on modified, you see that, if that would be accepted. Obviously, you would just enter it into Best Plan Pro, but this will tell you what the pricing would be. You can also see Social Security numbers required. So let's say it's someone who needs a TIN, right? Just click the down arrow, go to the next one. Let's keep going. Social Security, let's just keep going through these and see. Social Security is required, not required, boom. Great Western, Great Assurance, graded. There's our option, it's a graded policy.
Cool.
There you go, that's probably the best option for this price, which is $7,500. If I wanna look up 25,000, there's that for me. 50,000, you can see there are a couple options here. But we can also click on show ineligible options, click on view details, and see the reason why it's face amount.
Right, gotcha.
It's there, but who really cares about why a plan isn't there, right? So you can hide that, you can keep it there, whatever you want. It's up to you. You can also hide your competitors, and there's the one product, right? So if you're going to turn around your, the difference here is a what? 4 cents.
Yeah.
So if you're going to turn your computer around and show your client, you can turn that off, whatever, right? But that tells you, is this worth going out and getting a whole contract for 4 cents for this particular policy? It's up to it's up to you. 100,000, there's an option for you.
Cool.
Term, same thing. We already did all of our term assessments. There's a 25,000. That doesn't look right to me, but maybe we'll see. I'm not really going to go into checking that out, but whatever. Tells you all the options, and it's going to tell you rated. So with rated, it's likely the best price possible. This is the best case scenario. You'll get it. It'll be $379. No guarantees, right? It has a compounding condition system. It has all these different things. You can see everything you would need to know in this plan info. It's like a cheat sheet for this particular product for rated. So it's all right here. And then when you're ready to go, you just access the app and it opens it up for you. Done.
Awesome.
Takes you to the login page. Now, what's interesting here though is because you have all these links in here, you don't really have to have a bunch of open tabs all the time.
Right. Yes,
I know Rick, the guy who I created the software with, Rick Craig, he has like 50 tabs open at one time. He made me say, he made me promise to mention that he has now closed all of his tabs because of this version of the software, which I imagine you're going to a
That's
house,
not
right?
a bad point, you know?
No, and your tabs, each of these tabs in Google Chrome make your computer run slower. It's like, everything just takes so long to do.
Right.
It's the room's hot, which slows down your computer. Jerry Springer's on in the background. If you're on telesales, you have your dialer. You're watching the clock to see when your next leads might come in. You're watching to make sure you don't run over in your next appointment. Just like it helps you simplify. Everything's in one place.
Right.
So all this stuff's right here. Competitive analysis lets you see what your competitors would be. Gives you the information on whether or not it's immediate or not. And this is based on all this stuff. So let's say I want to save this and I want to, I want to get a link. I want to share it with somebody, maybe the client. So I'm going to click on get a read-only link. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to open up another incognito window and I'll show you what that looks like. Open that up right there. You can see all the competitors are gone. And it can't be changed. So if you're sending this to a client to show all of the different options, which may or may not be a good idea, I'll leave that to you. You guys are the experts on that one, right? You got to do what's best for your sales process.
Sure.
The competitors are gone. You don't need your client seeing your competitors, right?
Right.
And if they try and open the details, they can't.
Right.
Because they don't need to see all of that, right? They need to see what are the options, you're doing the best. And so, this also leads to an important question. Look, 6919, 4503. So why would I choose immediate over graded? That leads to the question. I found you day one coverage, Mrs. Jones.
Right.
That means if you die tomorrow, you're covered. Versus you get 30% of it.
Right.
So it finds all that for you. And so that's the crux of Best Plan Pro.
Yeah. For me, the biggest takeaways here, it's all on one screen. It's real simple to go and alter things as you need to. You got your competitors. That's going to help you guys out there. If you're out there in the field and you see other carriers out there that you didn't know about, now maybe you could add them to your lineup. I mean, lots of easy to see benefits here, not to mention just the fact that where your client's going to fit with high accuracy as far as which carriers to go with.
So a couple points on that too, David. The most interesting thing is IMOs. If you have your agents looking at different products and they keep asking you for one, it lets you know what they might leave you for.
Right.
And lets you get that contract. Agents, it lets you figure out who might replace you. Carriers love this because our goal is to be as conservative as possible. If, for example, a carrier says to us, we don't want COPD cases this week, we're going to change the software to adapt to that because what we want, our goal is if your client somehow, unfortunately passes away, that policy pays out every time.
Right.
And to give you some information on that, Rick, he still writes. And I make him write. He doesn't want to. He struggles like everybody else, but he does a great job. His placement in the last month was 96% or something like that.
So that means for you new guys, 96 out of 100 apps were approved, and the placement rate's probably closer to 75%. Without any sort of assistance on underwriting.
And I'm talking about he didn't get modified when he expected graded.
Yeah,
he got exactly what he expected every time. And he told me there's a couple cases that just they forgot they had a stroke. It was literally 3 people who forgot they had a stroke.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple other just omissions, but you can't really do anything about it.
I have to throw this in here because again, I'm thinking of the newer agent who's out there maybe struggling and frustrated with underwriting, especially if you're telesales. When you make your offer and you've done the best job possible underwriting it without a tool, you may be wrong. And what you apply for may be something different. That level coverage may come back graded or declined or modified. It is really hard to pivot. And something like this with Best Plan Pro is going to save tremendously and reduce tremendously the potential that you may be in that tight spot where you got to go back to the client who may be wanting to get off the phone already. They've been on the phone longer than they expected, and now you're going to give them the bad news. Now you can avoid it almost altogether when you've got this type of tool in your corner.
Well, we found so far, we've done experiments with large and smaller organizations over the past 4 or 5 years now. 4 years. We've been around 4 years. And the numbers haven't changed. But we found a new agents and to end up placing about 20% more business where they expect. Experienced agents, about 10 to 15%. And there's a standardization, right? So what we found is time on the phone. What's been reported to me is that time on the phone goes down pretty significantly to the point where you can have an extra appointment in the day.
Right.
You're saving that much time. Uplines love it.
You're making that much more money. That's how I look at it, So
yeah, imagine how much more money you can make with one more appointment and higher placement with that appointment.
Right, 100%. Yeah.
Right. And so it's all right here in front of you. We update weekly. We update, the Windows version and all of these things over the weekend usually, in order to make sure that we do it in non-obtrusive ways. You don't have to update. This thing just updates itself. It's not. We try and stay out of the way, right? We're here to help the agent, not dictate how to sell. That's why we've tried to make this a sales process agnostic system. So you can see we have all the information. Like if you sell based on, so if you know your client is going to have the social security number issue, you can see that here. But you also see all of the options. So you know that if something changes, probably, you might be able to make another call. And also imagine follow-ups a year from now. You have all their information. You can just update some dates, and that's that. Cross quote. We do final expense term, med sup, and pre-need. We're expanding all of those offerings. We're really pushing in the term side right now. And we're working right now. I also was told to say that we're working on some CRM type stuff.
Okay, good. I was about to ask you, make sure you cover the rest of those notes there. So
yeah, I got them all here. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think I got them all. But yeah, it's the idea really being, how can we make it easier? I mean, underwriting is not the most fun part of this.
Right.
Right. It's not even the sales part of it.
But if you screw it up, I mean, it just takes one deal to blow it.
And imagine what that does psychologically. You spend an hour and a half on the phone, you're really close, and maybe it's a family that really needs it.
Right.
And then what's that going to do? It's like they can't get any coverage because, of just something that was just a mistake. And mind you, one thing that we've done over this period of time is we've actually helped carriers because we found mistakes. We found pre-calc rates being incorrect. We found typos in RX guides. We found typos in impairment guides. So if you're searching for one of those medications that's a little bit more obscure, but it's spelled with like 1,000 consonants, and you can't pronounce, nobody can pronounce it, and you can't find it in the RX guide, it's like, how are you supposed to properly underwrite that? I mean, I had a case the other day that I was fact checking, and the carrier restricted one particular name of the medication, a brand name. Right. And the problem was another brand name. And so the problem was that the agent was like, I got this. I'm going to look up the generic. And they fact checked the brand and the generic. But the truth is the carrier wrote down another brand name for the generic. And what they mean is that whole line of medication doesn't work for their risk profile. And so they would have rejected it. It was a knockout drug.
Right.
We'll take care of that. Get back to selling. We'll handle the underwriting. That's our slogan.
Yeah. Hey, that's what you want.
Yeah. Let's be transparent. I mean, the whole point of this is to really just help the agents make more money, but also to help get more immediate coverage. We found in our experiments, again, 25% improvement to day one coverage over GI.
Yeah.
And also how often do you really want to check? Like how many cases do you want to have to go through where there's 15 medications? You want to check every single one of those? Right. How long will that take? It's easier to just enter in all of the information and have Best Plan Pro figure it out for you than to do it by hand, especially when you do need to pivot.
Best Plan Pro is almost an insurance policy, if you think about it.
Yeah,
really.
Right. And it's and what I like to say is get it, and if it doesn't pay for itself in the first week, and it should pay for itself. Usually it pays for itself usually for the whole year in 1 week.
Right.
Cancel it.
Right.
I have no problem with that. And we add new carriers, new products based on feedback. So just give feedback and we're happy to add it.
Well, Zach, as we wrap it up here, anything else that you want to hit on or discuss before we kind of tell our viewers where they can go to learn more and get started with you guys?
The only thing I could say is use it how you see fit, right? So if you know that squamous cell cancer is not going to be a problem for the carrier that you're trying to just quickly check, but you're just curious whether or not their surgery is, just put in surgery real quick. You can omit that, right? It needs to be as accurate as you need it to be. So if you know they're going to get graded, just say graded at best. And then it'll tell you, you can just run the quote. So if you have to check one med, you know they're going to get GI and you're just looking for knockout, like an Alzheimer's drug, you can do it right here.
Right.
That's it. Simple as that. Best Plan Pro.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you kindly. Appreciate you, Zach. Where do my viewers go next to learn more about and to start off with you guys at Best Plan Pro?
I'll be very YouTuber when I say this, but check the link in the description.
Right. All right, you know where it is, right below this video. Check it out. If you have any questions you want to pose, feel free to throw comments in below. You're always welcome to reach out to me, and I'm sure you can find Zach through the link that's in the description below. So we appreciate you very much, Zach. Hope you have a good day.
Thanks, you too, Dave.